Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Fortified Life podcast, where we are passionate about developing a dependency on Jesus in the marketplace. I'm your host, Jason Davis, aka Mr. Fortify. Every week, we have the opportunity to bring on authors, speakers, coaches, founders, leaders, and nonprofits who are also passionate about putting God back in business. And, folks, as you know, it is no different this week. I'm very excited about our guest, someone who I've watched from afar and recently reconnected with, and you just never know God's timing. But let me tell you a little bit about our guest today, Nautrie Jones. After contributing significantly to organizational growth, surpassing expected goals and outcomes, establishing new partnerships, initiating groundbreaking statewide partnership, and expanding organizational reach across the state of Georgia and New York as a principal consultant at Agility Consulting. Nautrie co-founded Impact Work LLC. Nautrie possesses an unwavering belief in people and their ability to grow. Impact leads consulting, coaching, and training projects to change the way organizations engage talent. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Fortified Life podcast, Nautrie Jones. Nautrie, how are you doing today?
Hi, I'm great. How are you? I'm so excited to be here.
I am doing well. Well, Nautrie, we were talking offline about just God's perfect timing. But I had been watching over the last like year and a half. I'd see posts from you on LinkedIn, and it was just really cool, everything that you've been doing. For our audience, Nautrie, we know there's a whole lot, by the way, folks, there's a lot more in her bio that God has graced her to do.
I was like, what are you
So
going to read?
yeah. So there's a lot there. And so to let our audience in a little bit, Nautri, give us a little bit of the professional journey. Because we know just at the time of this recording, you just didn't 1, 2, 3 boom and Impact was here. In fact, the part I did read kind of gave a little bit of well, she did some consulting, she did this. Now we've got Impact. So talk to us about the journey.
Yeah, I'm really excited to be in conversation with you. The fun fact you didn't mention is like we met years ago at a networking event and recently reconnected. So we've kind of been watching each other
Yes.
um, over the years, and so I'm really excited to be here with you today. I think the through line for my journey, because if you look at it, you're saying like, oh wait, like, aren't you a teacher? Wait, do you work in nonprofit? Are you a leader? Have you led in schools? Have you led in nonprofit? Wait, and now you do talent strategy. And I think yes to all of those things. And the through line is people. No matter how
Mm,
old they are, no matter how they enter into the space, my journey has been one that it has been fueled by meeting the challenge that comes with supporting people, whether they
mm,
are middle schoolers in Atlanta public schools or adults who are navigating the complexity of leading organizations in 2025. So
mm,
I started my career as a teacher. I taught middle school for over a decade, did that for quite a bit, and then moved into the nonprofit space. And it was there that I had the opportunity to formally lead a team.
mm,
And it was also there that it forced me to dive deeper into saying, well, what else do people need in order to thrive? Because if we
mm.
have this strategy that says we're going to go in this direction, if we have these people who said, okay, cool, I'm willing to go, there's a gap there that requires us to think about what do they need in order to move in that direction. Is it coaching? Is it additional training? Is it just somebody to say you're doing a great job? Is it somebody that's giving them
Mm,
feedback? And so that really pushed me to say, that gap, that's the thing I want to think about. And so at the time, I had a dear friend. She and I would connect almost bi-weekly to just talk about our journey as leaders. What we didn't know then was that we were building impact. So the tools and
mm,
resources that I was building to support my team at the time are the same tools that we use right now to support clients and organizations at Impact, but we didn't know it. Isn't that fun?
My goodness.
And I left nonprofit, found myself working at a consulting firm out of fear. I was afraid to kind of branch out on my own, and I made the excuse and said, well, oh, well, this will give me a glimpse into how consulting works before I start my own thing. Here we are. I did that for a couple of years and said, it's time. It's time. Here's what I care about people. I care about this gap. I want to make sure that people are working for leaders who can set them up for success. People don't go to jobs not wanting to be successful. They want to be paid good money for the work that they do.
Hmm.
They want to be acknowledged for the work that they do. And they like do that. That's what a company can do. And so I think a big part of that Gallup survey data tells us about the impact of a manager. And so I was just really passionate about that.
Mm.
Linked up with my friend, told her what I was after, and she's like, "Hey, I think the same thing." And she asked me, have I been writing in any journals or any, what she's like, what have you written down? What have you typed up? What have you gotten? And I said, well, I've just been talking to Jesus about it. I've just been putting information in my journal. And she said, well, can you send me what you have? And I'll send you what I have. And Jason, I promise you, if when I read what she had, and if you put it on top of each other, they were in perfect order. Like
Wow.
it just made sense. And like I said, the tools and the resources and the approach that we use today at Impact are the same tools that we were building to create thriving teams for other organizations. And so, Impact Work is a consulting firm that we founded to create workplaces where people love to go. Um, people don't have to hate their jobs. People don't, at church all the time, there's a sermon about like, it's okay for you to be who you are on Sunday, but like, who are you going to be on Monday? Right? You got
Hmm.
your hands in the air, you're praising God on Sunday, but how do you show up on Monday? And sometimes the reason why the people can't show up the way they want to on, Monday and throughout the week is because we have workplaces that are not set up for people to be successful. We have
Mm.
workplaces that have not decided that they can be honest about what people are getting in exchange for their talent. We've decided that we don't have to train managers to treat people with care, success, and to own and support them in their development. We've decided that that stuff doesn't matter in too many organizations. And so I think it's easy to expect people to show up and carry the light of Christ. But when we have workplaces that aren't quite there yet and aren't ready to support people, healthy, whole people, um, there's something that we need to do to fix that. So
Mm. My goodness, not true. What an opening. I got multiple things floating around in my mind based on what you said. Man, what's one thing, Nautrie, you would say, and it may be a couple others, when you think about the transitions you made. So you had the teaching, so the nonprofit, and then the nonprofit into the consulting work, and then ultimately, founding Impact. But what were some lessons you learned about each of those transitions? Because transition is something that, I mean, gosh, have we seen
yeah,
2025? I mean, transition is
hello.
if people aren't coming, if people aren't going into one, they're coming out of one.
Yeah,
Um, what was the transition like for you? Like, what were some lessons when you look back, like, you know what? Wow.
yeah,
Yep, didn't know that.
yeah. Lessons. Hmm. So many lessons. Um, I'll tell you the cool thing that always stands out for me is even when I've questioned the decisions that I've made and taken different paths, like God's clarity and His grace showed up to meet me
Mm,
there.
it's
Even
good.
when I got ahead of myself and moved a little too fast or frustrated because things moved too slow. Because the thing that I didn't share that has been really cool about my journey is that God lets me say, like, God, I want to train teachers. That happened while I was teaching. When I was at the nonprofit, I was able to say, God, I want to move into talent strategy, organizational effectiveness. That's what I want to do, right?
Mm,
I want to be a speaker. Like God lets me say that. What God doesn't do is let me move on that immediately. He does
mm,
this really cool and annoying thing where he gives me glimpses. He like shows me or exposes me to people doing it, I think to help my belief. Like you can do that,
mm,
you do know that, right? But then he pulls people into my space to
mm,
support me on the journey, right? Like friends who happen to say, "Oh, I work for this place. You should talk to my manager." Or, "Oh, I was reading this book. You should read this book." Like that has been the story of my journey. I think the other cool thing that has been true has been beyond the community and like my ability to have some like, wait, I want to do this, God.
mhm,
Um, has been the patience that I've had to develop. Like I said, sometimes it's like
mm.
I say I want to, okay, God, I want to do this thing. I don't, and so I apply for these jobs and I don't get them. I'm like, wait, I thought we were in agreement with the thing that I said I wanted to do. Like, this is the job. Like, it was like it feels like a good fit and it feels like I'm a shoe in for this job. And the answer is no.
Mm,
And so I have to wait a year, 6 months, 2 years to do the thing that I'm sure is the next move, but I can't do it in my own timing.
mm,
So there's been some patience and some frustration along the way. Um, the cool thing is when I look back over it, it all makes sense.
mm,
Why I didn't get those jobs, why I had to wait 2 years. I had to meet 4 or 5 other different people, um, and have this particular experience or listen to this speaker or whatever the case may have been. There's just been these really interesting curves that I don't understand at the time, but they've all flowed beautifully into the story.
mm. Wow. That is huge, Nautrie. The power of prayer, intimacy with God, and patience. We don't like it, but it being developed. You made me think about Second Peter chapter 1, where Peter gives eight virtues, and one of them is depending on what translation you read, patient endurance. And so in certainly in the workplace, we don't like in real
I don't want to hear
time.
about the 40 days. I
Right,
don't want to
right.
hear about, I
Hmm.
don't want to hear
Yep. And
it.
without fail, almost every single person goes back and yep. And what that did is it built me for what was coming next. So that was just one of the things that really stuck out to me, that
But
struck me while you were talking.
well, it kind of goes back to what we were talking about offline, just about the journey, which I
Hmm.
think has been the lesson that I've been very much in this year around like sit down. Stop trying to force it. Like,
Yeah.
no, you have to wait. And while
Mm,
you wait, I want you to look around at all of the answered prayers that you're sitting in right now.
mm,
And so, I mean, and it has been coming at me from every direction, from sermons that my friends would randomly send me, to books that I'm reading, to just spaces where it's like, oh, look, oh, of course, I am sitting in that house. I am looking at, healthy children walk around my house there had been moments where I was praying for their health specifically. And so I'm like, oh, oh, look at me. Look at that, right? And so this year, even through my therapist, where she said things like, you have to get on the right frequency with God.
mm.
Stop it. And so if your body is saying rest, if your body is saying sit, you have to sit, not make
Yeah.
another spreadsheet. My accountant even told us, like, do not create another financial model. Like, I need you doing this other thing. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
stay in your lane, listen to me. And this is what resonated with me from one of your last podcasts that I listened to. It's like, sit with me, seek me, sit down. Stop trying to run things. You don't run this. You are not the CEO of this situation, ma'am. This is not that. And so I think that's how, even though I say it as like I've been able to tell God, like, okay, God, this is what I want to do. I believe that those are things that He planted on the inside of me. Those are visions that He
Mm-hmm.
gave me. Um, I think that this entrepreneurial journey is a much longer, larger, and deeper opportunity to get real close and cozy with God,
Mm-hmm.
where it's like, okay, you said exceedingly and abundantly,
Right.
head and not the tail, lender not a borrower. Come on, like, let's go. Where are you at though? And He keeps showing up, keeps
Mm.
showing up in so many ways. And so I think the patient that patience um, that I've had to develop over time, but more than anything right now, I think this process that we're going through while we're on this journey, right? I just said like we want to change the way people think about work. Like
Mm-hmm.
Jason, I imagine a world where I live in Roswell. People on 400 going to work right now. Like if you get on 400 on a Monday morning, it is bumper to bumper. People are
Mm-hmm.
not happy. Like people are blowing horns. People are windows rolled up, like coffee in hand, doing whatever they can to just get there. And they hate their jobs. Most of the people on 400 heading into Midtown hate their jobs.
Mm.
Imagine a world where people get up Monday morning, they've had a good night's sleep because they weren't scared to go to bed on Sunday night. They wake
Mm-hmm.
up and like, oh my gosh, I get to go to work. I
Mm.
get to go solve this problem. I get to go work with this team. I get to go support clients and customers, et cetera, et cetera. What would that,
Mm.
what? What? Road rage, what? Heart disease, where? Like, I mean, I see it. I see it. I can feel it, right? And so for me, sustainability matters and being able to take care of myself because the vision is so big and I believe in it. And I know that what we are helping companies to do matters. And that, I don't know how long it's going to take for us to get there, right? To where people are happy driving down 400. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
how long it's going to take us to get there. And so I have to enjoy the journey. I have to
Mm-hmm.
make space for what worked today? How did I make myself proud? How did I show up for myself? What are those moments of joy and grace and like just wonder that I experienced in this 24 hours that I was given as a gift? Um, I gotta focus there.
Mm-hmm. My goodness, that was so good, Nautrie. I think that's a perfect segue too, because you're talking about flourishing and thriving at work. There's that quote. Some people say, "I've never worked a day in my life," because that's just how they feel in their work. And one of the things you talked about in your journey with what you do now, an impact, you said at one point it was almost kind of prophetic in nature. You were building the tools for one instance. And without knowing that they would be the very tools that you would go on and help build this thriving, flourishing way of working. So, talk to me about those tools and how that dovetails into what you do now in
Yeah.
organizations.
Yeah, I'll give you an example. I was leading a team when I was working at a nonprofit, and I just had this aha around the work that we were doing.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the core components of the work that my team was charged to do was to coach people. And one of the
Mm.
questions I had was, how many of the people on my team have ever experienced the power of coaching? Not just
Mm,
like playing baseball. And when I started to ask them, they said, like, yeah, no, I've never had a coach. It's like, wait, your job is to coach people. Your job is to invest and motivate and inspire people around what is possible when you have a phenomenal coach. And
mm,
to know that people pay thousands of dollars to have a really great coach, right? You haven't even processed that. You haven't, and it's okay. Like it's nothing that you did wrong. We haven't created the conditions for you to even understand that. And so I talked to my business partner, now my business partner, my friend, Travani,
mhm,
and I was telling her where I was, and I said, I'm going to create this framework for coaching. And I want to make sure all of my people have coaches because they need to understand what coaching can do for them. And so we started talking, and she pulls up and shares her screens. We're on Zoom, and she's like, look at this. Here are the competencies that they could develop. And so we got a competency model, we got performance management, we have a coaching framework, we have a scope and sequence to monitor development, and we have a check-in infrastructure now. I was like,
mm.
wait, did we just build that thing? Um, but it was stuff like that's what we would do. It's how we met was problem solving around what are we seeing in the people that we're working with? How do we make these roadblocks go away? And we would
Mm,
get in a room and put some chart paper up and we would solve the problems.
mhm,
And even when we decided that we were going to start Impact, I drove to Nashville because that's where she lives. And I spent the weekend at her house, chart paper again. We had a strategic plan. We had our next steps. We had all of the pieces. So there's this beautiful um, thing that we get to do when we come together that we just get right in sync. God shows up and we are able to get to clarity very quickly around what we're going to
mm,
do, why we're going to do it, and what it's going to mean for us. Um, that's just what it's looked like. And so today, those resources have evolved. And so they've turned into here's how we approach coaching at Impact, right?
mm,
Here's what that looks like. Here's how many hours that looks like. Here's how we drive it. Here's the tools where we talk about, impact flowing. One of our tools is called Impact Flows, where we talk about as a
good.
manager, if you're experiencing something from your manager, your team is going to feel it in
Mm,
some way. Either they're going to feel ultra positive because you're, shielding them from everything, or they're going to feel the splash effect of all the things because you're stressed and you give them your stress. And we use those resources in coaching. We look at those manager resources and say, like, if your direct reports were taking this survey, how would they rate you? What would they
mm,
say about the experiences that you're creating? But all of the tools that we've created over the last decade that we've been friends, are tools that we've refreshed, of course, because it's 2025.
mhm.
But they're things that were built all along our journey.
Wow. Nautrie, there you just bringing so many things to to mind with what you're sharing. Um, one of a good friend of mine, she's also in the training space. She says we assess for success.
Mm,
And so if people when they poke around on the website, I saw that you do assessments too. So I want to talk about assessments, but then also the the role of management because I think it's I want to say it was Google. Either Google or Gallup did the study where one of the takeaways was people don't leave jobs, they leave
essentially.
people. And a lot of it, a huge percentage, I don't remember the exact
70.
number, had to
Mhm.
do 70 with their direct manager. So talk about the ways you go about assessing, whether that's the individual or a team. And then secondly, um, just the criticality of management, because a lot of times, and rightfully so, people talk about leadership development and whatnot, but it seems to me, even in the age of AI, everything kind of comes back to the manager individual contributor relationship where there's so much friction can happen. So if you could just elaborate on the role of management and then also just how you all go about assessing.
Yeah, yeah. I'll start with the role of a manager because I do
Hmm.
think the thing we often talk to clients about and that I always like to highlight anytime I get the chance to do any trainings or talk to leaders is like, if we're being honest, there has been a shift,
Hmm.
right? In the workplace where managers are being required to be coaches. Right?
Mm,
The workforce is telling, and not whether your company says it or not is one thing, but when you're
hmm.
talking about the relationship with your direct report and your direct report is saying, okay, well, how am I growing? How am I learning? How do I move up? Right? That's development. How are
Yeah.
you developing me? How clear are you on, am I doing a good job and am I ready for something else? And
Mm,
how are you helping me to make that make sense? That's
hmm.
coaching.
Yeah.
And we're not, so I think that's one thing we have
Hmm.
to, that has changed, right? As the workforce has evolved, as workplaces have evolved, the responsibilities have changed or shift in different ways. People are looking for folks to say, I need you to invest in my development. I
Mm,
need you to care about me as a person, and I need you to help me clarify the bar for success because, well, you know, what used to be true was you go to work, work hard, be a team player, get all in, be all in, all of that
hmm.
language. That's code for give us everything you got. And we don't really have to give you much in return. You should kind of be grateful for a job. And if it was far back enough, you got a pension. So there was a little bit of an incentive for you to stay at the
Hmm.
at that company. Those things aren't really happening anymore. And so it's causing this conversation of what am I getting? I'm coming to work for you. What's happening here? Am I going to get a promotion? Am I going to be stretched in any way? Will I feel valued? Will you listen to me when I say a thing? All of those things come straight through the manager first, right?
Mm,
Before that person is like raising their hand at a staff meeting, that manager, right, has come face to face with that person. That manager is not surprised if that person raises their hand at the staff meeting all the time because they go through the same thing in one-on-ones.
yeah.
The other thing that I'll say, so I think that's one thing that like there's an evolution in the manager direct report relationship. The other thing that we don't always talk a lot about, I know my friends in the talent space are talking about it, but that we're not acknowledging enough and putting enough energy behind is the fact that most people are hired into manager roles because they are good individual contributors. So when
Mm,
you're hiring a person to lead people, but you are not assessing their competencies in people leadership, well, friend,
mm.
if you're not asking them questions about being able to coach and develop, if you're not asking them questions or assessing their ability to build a high performing team,
Yeah.
here we are.
Can't.
And so you get managers who were really great at what they did as an individual contributor, but now their job is actually to care about the experience of their team.
Hmm.
That's I can't hop on the computer and do the thing for you. I
Right.
can't go into the room or the space or whatever the job entails and do it for you. I have to create the conditions for you to do it yourself.
Mm,
That's a big jump that
yeah.
oftentimes interviews don't assess for.
Mm,
And so I
wow.
think when we are surprised that people say people don't leave, jobs, they leave people. That is true. And it's the reason why Gallup survey data is the way that it is and is solvable,
Mm,
right? If you create systems where you are assessing these things at hiring, right? You create competency frameworks that not only look at Well, what are your strategic skill sets, but also what are your people skill sets like that you possess? When we're
Hmm.
assessing both of those things, we can gauge this better and we can understand better where people are going to need to like shine or where people are going to shine and where people might need additional support. And
Mm,
so the third part of what you said, so the first was, that shift manager direct report. The second is just our clarity on how are we moving people from individual contributor into people leadership roles. The third thing that fits into assessment is really about we have two assessments. There's one that we do around the whole organization where we're assessing organizational insights around like culture. And for us, culture is behavioral orientation. So how are leaders showing up, trust,
mm,
learning, support, growth, all those things. How are our leaders setting us up with a strong strategic vision so
mm,
people can say, "Oh, we're on board. We know where you're going. We got you." And then the people policies. How clear is this organization on how I can grow, how compensation decisions are made, all of that kind of stuff. That's culture for us. So we
mm,
assess that. We assess value proposition. You've heard me say this already. What am I getting in exchange for my talent? We assess that and
mhm,
how much it matters to people. And then manager effectiveness. So the third part of our survey talks about, well, to what extent can you take risks? Am I getting
mm,
real-time feedback, right? I get support and development. It's questions like that that help us understand where are your managers really knocking it out of the park and where are the places where your managers need support or need to dial it up. Our
nice.
other survey is just manager insights, where we give a similar survey to the manager and we give it to their direct reports and we use it in coaching. And we look at where does the manager overrate themselves and where does the manager underrate themselves and where are they kind of on the same page with their direct reports and where are the places where we're a little bit off. But then that becomes the foundation for how we coach in our executive coaching scopes. So, we do a few things to not only help managers understand where they are, but
Hmm.
also to put systems in place and supports in place to help them grow once we get that
Mm.
data.
Oh, that's good. Nautrie, what I loved about what you've been saying the whole time, you said the through line has been people. And when you start talking about skill sets like coaching, and you mentioned some people, they've just never experienced the value of coaching, what would you say? Because EQ was coming to mind. What role do you believe EQ plays, not just with management, but even just the growth of people professionally in their career? What have you seen in
Yeah.
that space?
Well, I think it's a contributor to the 70%. Right? It's like, um, you know, it matters so much, right? If you can't take a beat, think about who you are, how
Mhm,
you're showing up, and what that means for you, gosh, it's gonna make it harder for you to even entertain that for somebody
mhm,
else. Um, and so I think what I take away from your question is self-work and the
mm,
importance of working on self. If you are leading people and you do not have space to learn about yourself, how on earth are you going to set your team up for success? Now, are there successful teams where leaders don't have the best EQ and don't spend a lot of time focused on like them and their people? Sure, sure. I would argue they could be doing better,
mhm,
right? I would argue that those folks or those places where you are seeing success, I'd say, man, imagine a world where if you press pause and really thought about who the people are, what's driving them, gosh, you could go even further. So I think that the thing that I've learned, and I've had several ahas about this this year, e- related to emotional intelligence and self-awareness overall, really, is like there's no finish line.
Mm, that's
So
good.
hard. That was so hard for me to hear when my therapist said it. Like, there's no finish line. There's no, I was like, but wait, I read this book, I do this, I do that, I do this. So what now what? Right? That means that there's more to untangle. That means there's
Hmm.
more to explore. That means there's more to really peel back and sit with. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, so I didn't win? Like, no. Like you're not there. It's constant. It's ever evolving. It's ever changing. Because you're also maybe dealing with new people, different contexts.
Yeah.
So I think EQ is highly important, and the self-work, there's no you have arrived.
Mm. That's a mic drop right there, Nautrie. We could probably end the whole interview off that statement. My goodness. Nautrie, when you think about um 2026, we're kind of coming to the close. 2025. You've given so many gems. And folks, I'm just telling you right now, we're gonna have to have Nautrie come back. She's given us so much. We're gonna have to do multiple parts. Um, we're coming to the end of 2025. What are you excited about for 2026? Anything upcoming on the calendar, workshops, initiatives? Where do you see Impact going next year?
Yeah. Yeah. Gosh, my first thought when you were asking this question is internal. So we're growing our internal team. So I'll share a little bit internal and then I'll kind of
Hmm.
push it out
Sure.
externally. But internally, one of the things I actually just met with my team today, and I said to them, like, I don't want you to close out strong. How do we close with clarity? How do we
Mm,
close with some intention, with some feasibility, not trying to squeeze it all in, but being ruthlessly prioritizing our work, giving ourselves space and easing out of 2025 so that we can start 2026. As we do a shutdown, we 2 weeks, our team is off. And what matters to me is that nobody on December the 18th is saying, "Oh shoot, I didn't finish this thing." Like that matters. I don't
hmm.
want I don't want us to be functioning like that. And so I thought,
Gotcha.
how do we help our team close with clarity? And so I'm excited about setting my team up to close with clarity so that we
Mm,
can kick off the new year refreshed and renewed. So I'm really excited about that.
hmm.
Externally for our Impact family, there are a couple of things. I'm really excited. Travani and I launched a few webinars last year where we really dug into what does it look like for people to do the work, or for people who care about their organizations to do the work, to create new systems, to engage in coaching, to get the training, to solve for the things that are solvable. And
Mm,
so I'm excited to hop back into that. That'll kick off actually in the spring. But before that, we have our manager trainings, the 300 series that's all about team leadership. It's on our website. It's December now, so we kicked off the 200s, but the 300s is all about team leadership. You have a team
mm,
of people. You don't just have one direct report. You are responsible for a team, and you got to figure out and you got to figure out what they need and how to get them there. And so we cover
mm,
topics that are all about what does it look like to have a healthy, high performing team, and what is my role as a leader to help them get there. So manager trainings are live. You can hop online, your listeners can hop online, www.impact with an Empact. That is intentional to start that impact with an E. You can hop on our website and look up trainings. We kick off the first trainings in January for the 300 series. So that is something that we're really excited for because we typically do business with companies and organizations. This is direct. Like, if you are an individual and you said, I want to be a manager, I am a manager, I'm a leader, I want to be a leader, I have a team, you can go directly to our website and now those trainings are available to you. And so I will
Mm.
be facilitating those. So I'm really excited for those.
I love it, Nautrie. All kinds of things coming up in 2026. So, folks, you heard Nautrie go to Impact with an Empact. Make sure you check out everything that they're doing. Nautrie, any other ways for listeners to connect? We got the website. Well, just me personally, I know you're a good follow on LinkedIn, but any other ways for listeners to connect?
Yep. I'm on Facebook and Instagram, but I don't post much there. My work is primarily happening on LinkedIn. So join me on LinkedIn. Nautrie, I'm the only one. There is not another in the whole wide world. So if you put in my first name, you will find me. And you already mentioned the website. You can reach out to us, www.impact.work, not .com, .work. Impact.work is our website. I answer messages on LinkedIn all the time, so feel free to send me a message. Happy to chat and thought partner with folks. 'Cause here's the thing we didn't talk about with 2025. There are a lot of people navigating transition. Either they're
Yes.
leading organizations,
Hmm.
they have left organization by choice or by force. And so it's a very challenging time.
Yeah.
And there's some opportunity here. And so if your listeners are like, man, I'm really curious about what my next steps are. I have some ideas, I have some thoughts. I'm happy to create space to talk to them. Because this year has been one for the books, I think, for a lot of
Yeah.
professionals. And so I will extend myself to that. So feel free to just reach out on LinkedIn. I respond to those messages and I'm happy to find some time to support.
So awesome. Nautri, folks, you heard it from the lady herself. You know where to find her. It will also have all of her information in our show notes, fortifiedlifepodcast.com, jerichoforce.com/podcast. Well, Nautri, I can't even begin to tell you how awesome this conversation has been, and we're definitely going to have to do it again for sure.
Let's do it again. Let's do it again. Let's drill down on some topics. Um,
Yes,
yeah.
yes, we will. Well, Nautri, I can't thank you enough for hanging out with us here on the Fortified Life podcast. We look forward to having you again in the future.
Thank you. Bye.
Well, folks, that's all we have time for here on the Fortified Life. You know how we end things. Don't compartmentalize your faith in the marketplace. From the boardroom to the bathroom, God is with you. We'll see you next time on the Fortified Life podcast.